everyone, welcome to the Car Dealer AI show. Today we have Spencer. He is the GSM at a Porsche dealership in Fresno, California. He has ultra luxury vehicles, an amazing selection of Porsches, and he is currently using a little bit of AI and has a great unique view on how to use AI within a dealership. On this channel, we speak to dealers and vendors alike. If you like that type of content, go ahead and just subscribe right now, please. And we'll jump right into it. Spencer, what's working today at your dealership?
Yeah, John, thanks for having me, man. I'm actually pretty excited to kind of talk about this topic. Before I answer that, it's funny, this is like the hot topic. This is like everybody is approaching us with AI. Everyone's got a solution. Everybody's got an answer to our prayers, so to speak. And it's funny, as a Porsche store, whenever I get asked, hey, what's working for you guys, or what type of AI implementation are you guys using? I'm always the opposite of what people end up hearing, which is we're pretty much not using any sort of AI. I mean, we're encouraging our staff members to use it where they can. But what's working for us is a lot more relational than it is transactional. And I think that is what we end up seeing so much with AI and platforms and companies that are starting and everyone having like a one size fits all solution. We're kind of in the in the bushes, so to speak. We're like back here kind of watching all these companies develop. We're kind of seeing what people are doing, what they're coming out with. Because even though the franchise dealer model is all run one way, right? Like if the wheels broke, don't fix it. Everyone knows their markets far better than everybody around them. So we're kind of in the bushes watching all these other companies formulate what they're doing and how it's going to bring value to kind of what we do here.
Yeah, so let's expand on that. Like, what
Yeah.
types of things are you avoiding to implement right now and why?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's such a great question when it comes to AI. So, with what we do, specifically with Porsche, it's so much more relational than transactional. And obviously, as salespeople, we're always told to be that way. So I don't want to basically push that into a corner of like, hey, listen, Porsche is the relational brand, not the transactional brand. Obviously, we transact, but we're really just trying to stay away from like the robotic approach that AI can bring to some customers and some elements of the process. We aren't necessarily looking for the company or the solution that says, hey, I can take a customer from door to driveway in 45 minutes, sign up with us. It's like, that's not, that's not what we're about here,
Yeah.
and so whenever I get approached like that from a company, I always kind of look over and I'm like, listen, like I really respect what you're doing and I hope that you're really successful. But with our brand and with our clientele, we're actually trying to slow that process down a little bit.
Mhm.
When people buy a Porsche, regardless of whether it's a Macan, or let's just say all the way to the top, right? Like a 911 or a GT3 RS or something crazy, right? That's a spike the football moment for a lot of people. That is like a, hey, I got a promotion, I sold my business, I just made partner, whatever that is in that person's life. This is
Mhm.
an experience. It's not, a how quickly can I get in and out. To some people it is, and we respect that, and we always try to be courteous. But it's our job as ambassadors of the brand to make sure that they understand why they're spending the money they are.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's actually a little bit of a breath of fresh air compared to what we normally speak about on this channel. And it's a really neat view to say don't replace that experience. Like we are an experience brand or we are an hospitality brand. It
Right.
makes me think about early on in my career, I was the in-house marketing director for a dealership named Mercedes-Benz of Naples. And
Okay.
Mercedes-Benz of Naples, for those who don't really know Naples, it is a high-end, ultra-luxury style city where a lot of retirees live, a lot of what they call snowbirds, so people that just live there for 3 months. So they'll literally fly down, buy a car, sell it 3 months later, just so that way they
Hmm.
have a new whip while
Yep.
they're there.
Got it.
And our general manager at the time was amazing, and he said I helped for on a recruiting standpoint to
Hmm.
like market positions. And he said, I will never hire a car salesman. And I was like, why? He's like, all I do is I hire servers and front desk hospitality workers because that is what I want in the dealership. I can teach them how to be product specialists. I can teach them how to sell the way that I want them to sell. But this is 100% just an experience. And you are buying something that, to your point, it's not like you're just buying a Kia just because you need a new vehicle. You're
Right.
buying this because it is that steakhouse dinner that you just don't want to like breeze through.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so we often look at AI, at least internally, right? As okay, how can we use this internally and not externally? Where so many companies are approaching us with the external view of we can make it more efficient for your customer, we can provide more data via a website chatbot AI feature. And we're looking at it as more of okay, well, listen, if we're going to implement AI into our stores and have our entire personnel work off of it, how is it going to make our people better? In turn provide a better experience for our customer, not the other way around. Because our customers want to be a little bit more relational, especially in our demographic and where we're at. We're right in farmtown
Mhm.
community, Central Valley, California. Our store definitely operates on a handshake standard. And I'm not speaking, alone. I'm sure there's plenty of people in your audience that are all over the United States that probably feel that same way. And so if I go approach let's say a third, fourth, fifth generation farmer from our valley with, hey, click this link and use this AI tool and it's going to help you out and be more efficient. The chances of that customer saying, no, thanks, can I just talk to a live person at our place is probably, let's just say it's 7 out of 10. It's probably really high. So
Mhm.
in that sense, we look at AI mostly internally and not externally.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's actually where I was going to take it next. Is I feel
Yep.
like most people today just think about AI in car dealerships as conversational AI. Like, how do we replace that conversation? How do we replace that customer touch point? But I will say that I don't think it's all fully developed yet by vendors, but I see it coming. And especially on this podcast, we see a lot of people who are doing a lot of things that just don't have a lot of field reps. And so they're not getting out there and not gaining awareness as to what they're
Right.
doing. But there are so many internal processes that could be sped along that actually could improve customer experience. Like, is there a
Mhm.
way to use AI to get them from sales to F&I quicker, or
Mhm.
to prep that conversation a little bit? That's a frustration point for me as somebody who's purchased a handful of luxury vehicles and
Right.
is just like always frustrated about the wait times
Yep.
and things that just take a little bit too long. I also think about things like vehicle acquisition. Like, you
Yeah,
guys
big time.
have this niche. Could you acquire more rare, unique items and then use AI to actually communicate to your car enthusiasts or your Porsche enthusiasts that, hey,
Right.
we just got this in? And
Right.
when the sales reps just doesn't really always have that capacity,
Right.
you could utilize the customer database and
Yep.
have that first, maybe just text-based conversation go
Right.
out based on the inventory that you've just purchased, and
Yeah.
AI may have purchased that vehicle. We had an ultra luxury person on our guest on the show one time, and we were in the brainstorm session of like, what would you build and how do you, and for him
Yeah.
he was like, oh, the way that I acquire vehicles is really unique. He said, basically, I acquire vehicles on Car Gurus and Auto Trader, and I can't just go to auction and find the vehicles that I want.
Right.
Sometimes I can go to my past customers and find the vehicles that I want.
Big
Most of the
time.
time I go to Car Gurus and Auto Trader and do 30 plus days on lot. I
Mhm.
look at price 150,000 and above, and I just look at things that like aren't priced properly, or the thumbnails are really poor and it's like super zoomed out, or there's a bunch of cars in the background.
Right.
And then I
Right.
also know like what sells in my market versus, maybe it doesn't sell in your market, but I know that that unit is going to sell in my market in 3 days. And so thinking about how can AI like improve that process, and the customer never has to see that.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Some of the best ways, and I heard this from a mentor of mine, so don't quote me, but one of the best ways to implement AI into your store is invisible. So if you're using it, but it's not being seen, right, and it's not coming across as complete
yeah,
AI, then that would be one of the best ways to implement it. And it
that's
really kind of
incredible.
struck me, right? One of the best ways to implement AI into your store is if it's invisible. So it's a really good quote, and we stand by it. And that's why I take the position of like, hey, listen, I'm not like fully against AI. I'm actually really for it. We just want to find a way to protect the customer experience with Porsche and the brand versus the robotic experience, right? Now, for instance,
Mhm.
if the tides return and I'm like, let's just say a higher volume Chevy, Toyota, Honda, Nissan store, whatever, in whatever market, then our conversation is entirely different. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
what can we do? How can we get our customer acquisition costs completely down? What processes can we implement um, to get as many basically cars on the road as possible? Right, that's everybody's goal. But here in our market where we're at, um, when it comes to the customer experience, the acquisition side, I continue to lean back on it's more of an internal implementation than it is an external, right? And yeah, to
Yeah.
your point, when it comes to acquiring cars, it's easily one of the biggest blind spots of our store, right? With acquisition, it is very easy to go underwater really fast. The higher the price of the vehicle. So if I go acquire a $300,000, $400,000 car, the swings are way bigger, right? As far as potential losses or potential wins. And it's very, very strategic and almost human-like when it comes to like the pulse, so to speak. You're like, hey, I think the market's this, or hey, I know the market's this, where we don't really have a ton of data to lean back on unless it's the resources that we know, right? Like Viato or classic.com or Bring a Trailer, for example, is a big one for us. Cars and Bids is another big one, Car Market. Some of these like live public auction websites that have real transactional data. That's kind of where it falls into. So most of our AI implementation, when that time comes at our store, is going to be far more knowledge based than it's going to be efficiency based, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
now let's look at the so I love that you're standing by this mentality of invisible AI and creating
Yeah.
this amazing experience. But let's think about like the raw numbers for a second and say
Yep.
like, okay, if I just wanted to be profitable, could I sell 100 more units a month if I was having AI reach out to customers? I'll give you an example. So we also own a company called CarDealer.ai that
Hmm.
mainly does outbound voice AI for car dealerships. And we say that we reactivate past customers, unsold leads, past or inactive service customers. And that's sort of our bread and butter. We have our inbound stuff as well. We had an amazing opportunity to work with a ultra luxury dealership inside of in Atlanta. They have contracts with the Kardashians, where the Kardashians actually sell all of their vehicles to them.
Got it.
Shaq was just in their dealership last month, so
Got it.
yeah, if you go through the Instagram page, it's full of big celebrities.
Nice.
Now, I was a little hesitant, and this dealership really wanted this, but I was like, okay, is this going to be like a bad reputation thing? I know our voices are really great, and I know that they sound extremely human-like, but I don't know how it's going to perform. You don't have trade cycle customers because this is ultra luxury,
Right.
and it scheduled 56 appointments in 2 days, and on the first 2 days, and I was shocked, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's better than the results that we get at the Chevy stores and the high volume brands, and what I came to realize was that when it comes to car enthusiasts, they are
Hmm.
always in the market, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
and people like to be invited to buy something, and so
Yes.
that was us inviting them, and then we got 56 phone calls that turned into appointments, or probably like maybe, I don't even know how many phone calls, probably 80 phone calls that turned into 56 appointments.
That's impressive.
And these are unsold leads or things that the humans weren't following up on.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody was offended. And so then it becomes just a numbers game of, do you stand still on this, like, we are the ultimate experience, this human to human interaction? Or do you say, I would love the human human interaction, but my humans don't have enough capacity to actually make that amount of connections?
Oh, 100%. And that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, like I said, it's more of an internal than an external, right? So, like for us, if there are companies and ways for us to implement far more outreach than what our guys are capable of doing, that let's say work at all hours of the day, every day of the week, even when the store is closed, then that's absolutely a conversation that we want to have. We just want to make sure, that it is tailored, right? We started using a company. I think we still use them, but we had started implementing like this AI chat feature. I think it was
Yeah.
through Podium, and we would have customers reach out to the store via Podium, and they would text, for information that could be anything from my car needs service to hey, I saw this car on the website. And we
Mhm.
ran into this issue. It's kind of funny. If you're a Porsche dealer, you'll understand. But we ran into this issue where people were texting our chatbot AI by saying, hey, I want a GT3 RS allocation. And then our chat AI is like, oh, great. Yeah, absolutely. Send us your build code. Let's get the process going. And it was like starting to get people like really excited, like, holy crap, I got a GT3 RS allocation. Like I'm talking to this chatbot guy. And then we come in the
Oh.
next day, see all the conversation, make the phone call, and we're like, hey, this is so and so from, Porsche Fresno. I'm sorry, you were talking to our AI feature. We obviously don't have a GT3 RS allocation for you, but this is kind of the process in which that works at our store. And so we were running into things like that specifically with our brand. And when we went to that company to say, like, how do we stop this from happening? They were like, oh, yeah, you have to go in here and program it. We would do that. It would still find a way somehow to come back to us. So it was really interesting from an outreach standpoint, kind of what that turned into.
Mhm.
It ended up being a little bit more heat than it was worth. So we kind of shut that off. But as far as like mining from our own
Okay.
refrigerator and how AI can help us essentially reactivate dead leads and dead customers through our network, that's invaluable. That's 100% something that we would look into, that we haven't been approached on yet, because everything that we've been approached on is essentially how can we make the process more efficient for you, and how can we get the customer through the door and to their driveway faster, right?
Mhm.
And I think that that's an interesting, you know, case to make, or maybe even a little bit of a hot topic, right? Which is what AI companies are implementing processes for stores versus the process for the customer, because everyone's kind of
Mhm.
got this solution to, hey, we can make this better for the customer, but who's out there grabbing the bull by the horn saying, hey, actually, our tool only and exclusively works for dealers and can help all departments be more efficient on your side versus the dealer side or versus the customer side. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And to make it customizable per to the dealership and not just something this is like probably the number one complaint that I have that we hear from other people that are using Numas and the Impels and Podiums of the world right now that are
Yeah.
like, hey, it's broken and they won't fix it. Or, we have
Yeah.
some not to bash any of those companies. I think that they're
No, hey,
all
listen,
amazing
not at all.
companies, but
They all do
they're
what they
they're
do.
big and they, like, can't really move that fast all the time. I think
Right.
that there's a future where I think there's a future, even a current state, to be honest, but it just isn't heavily adopted right now, where dealerships are building their own systems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe they have the foundation of, like, for us, CarDealer.ai, we know that, hey, there's a massive list of rules that need to be put
Mhm.
into place. So that way the agent just performs really, really well. And we only
Right.
know that because we've listened to and monitored tens of thousands of phone calls, and now we know that. Well, a
Yes.
dealership isn't
Yeah.
gonna know that, so they can't just build it from scratch. It's gonna just be buggy, just like
Right.
ours was, a year and a half ago.
Right.
But what they can do is now add that little guardrail, like, don't overpromise this.
Right.
Only do this if you know for certain that, like, our inventory is this or the allocation is this.
Right.
And, I actually saw, it was Jacoby. I was really inspired by a feature that they had.
Mhm.
Basically, they have like this speed to lead where they're integrated into your CRM, and you could go in and you can look at the agents that they pre-populate it with, but all of those are 100% customizable. And then you can
Got it.
actually add new agents and new rules. So you could say after day 11, if they haven't responded in 8 days, then be this person and and then change your role over to what this is. And if it's 180 days in, then you're talking to them like this at this frequency. And but I just really loved that the dealer had the opportunity to just edit all of that. And
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's
they are just
invaluable.
the foundation.
Yeah, that's invaluable because when we talk about like knowing your market, knowing your store, understanding the pace in which you guys transact, having the ability to kind of customize through what you want it done, how you want it done, and when you want it done, it's invaluable, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't want to say this about our industry, but we are a little bit of the path of least resistance. Even some of the highest,
Mhm.
let's say executors, right? Some of the people that go out and just perform at the highest level possible, when you bleed down the scale all the way down to salespeople on the floor, it is a little bit of the path of least resistance. And so trying to implement something in that's AI based that can help them on their day to day routine. Okay, well, how much am I taking away versus how much are we adding? And is there value being put in the middle of that? It's a really interesting way to kind of look at it because, like I said,
Mhm.
it's a market based. It's market based performance. It's not necessarily like dealer based performance, in my opinion. Like our market's
Yeah.
only capable of so much, right? And so from, let's just say, a pump in and pump out report, if you're a new car franchise dealer, understanding kind of how you expand beyond your market is something that AI can help you with. But I say it because we're a smaller market, so we are only capable of
Mhm.
so much. Therefore, how much of that can we capture versus how much of it have we not been capturing? And then what can we use AI related to help us, let's say, bridge that gap?
Yeah, I've also seen, I'm interested in your thoughts. There are some companies coming up that are putting on devices. I don't even know if something like this would be illegal in California, but they're putting devices on their shirt. They're recording all the phone calls and coaching sales reps. What are your thoughts on like recording those customer conversations and then using it for sales training?
I don't know. I don't think that that would work in California unless we like blatantly made the customer aware that they were being recorded. I think
Mhm,
that it would work. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say like, hey, we tell all of our sales guys use ChatGPT to do email templated responses and whatnot, because we don't. Some of our guys do use that. I think it'd be very interesting to kind of see what that would look like from a coaching's perspective, because in our market with our brand, everything's different. It's not like everyone's reaching out to us for the $499 a month lease payment, right? Most Porsche product is bespoke, which means even though you'll see a million white Macans, they're probably not all exactly the same. Which
mhm,
means a lot of what we deal with internet traffic on our new cars and specifically like our used cars. Again, going back to the beginning of this conversation, John, it's a lot more knowledge based, than it is like transactional and informational based. Why
mhm,
is our pre-owned 911 Targa 4 GTS with a manual transmission with 2,000 miles priced 40 grand over everyone else's on the market? Well, it's because
mhm.
it's got 2,000 miles. The last of the non-year hybrid cars, it's got 3 pedals, it was discontinued in 2024. So it's like more immediate information and knowledge to the customer than it is like anything else. And so from a process standpoint, I think it'd be very interesting. But from, again, what I see and what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, it's far more um, information to the customer than anything else.
Yeah, that's incredible. And now I wonder if customers would actually like that product specialist to be AI versus a human.
If
And,
the,
in some
I
ways,
think that
I
they
think that people
absolutely
like,
would. Sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah,
cut you off. I think they absolutely would if the information was accurate. But
true.
going back to the bespokeness of Porsche, right? Not every car is the same. If you got a customer looking at a $400,000 car on my website and it's paint to sample and it has, let's say it's a GT3 RS, right? It's paint to sample. It has a white stock package. It has magnesium wheels. It's got carbon ceramic brakes. It's got PCCBs, which are the Porsche carbon ceramic brakes, um, in black calipers instead of yellow. It's like all these things like really matter to that person who's spending that dollar amount. Not to say
Mhm.
that like a Macan customer, for example, who's going to spend 70 to 80 grand, it doesn't matter. But you're talking like house levels of money for a vehicle, right? So like the
Yeah.
attention to detail and like the information accuracy has to absolutely be 100%. Otherwise, you'll lose all that credibility with the customer. So, I mean, yeah, an AI bot that's knowledge based that would be able to basically answer every question about any specific car in our world, that would be gigantic, right? Because even our sales guys don't get that right sometimes. Hey, does this car have a
Yeah.
front axle lift? Well, you can't really just look at it from 20 feet across the showroom floor and say it does, right? You got to like go touch it, and like make sure it has a front axle lift. So those are really important things, that, and I don't think anything like that even exists right now, in the AI space.
Yeah. I
If
like to
they
say
do,
that oh, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say if they do, like hit me up because I just don't know if that exists.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't really heard about it either. But that's what I love about these brainstorming sessions is like, what would you build if you could just build anything? And the truth is, AI is at a point right now where like you, Spencer, could build this software,
Big
and
time.
it's really like it seems intimidating if you haven't gone into it yet. But if you're using
Yeah.
Claude or a lot of people are using Replit to
Yeah.
jump in and like build software, and it's literally just like talking to ChatGPT, except the
Yeah.
results are like this incredible software that really does its thing. But I think that there's three major components that make any AI software or agent successful. One is the strategy and purpose. So basically the what you would chat about it to, and then it's the integrations, and then it's the data. So making sure that you have not only the integrations, that way you have instant data, but then also historical data. Like what have you
Right.
sold for
Yeah.
the last like
Absolutely.
forever,
Yeah.
and what prices are those at, and your entire customer database. And when I think about data, the reason why I stress that is because dealerships really across every single company, not just dealerships, but they have CRMs, they have
Yep.
bin solutions or e-leads outside of that, Salesforce, HubSpot, and to other businesses. And they're saying Oh, called customer, left message, called customer, left
Hmm.
message. But how
Right.
much data are they really putting in there? Like I spoke to the customer, he has a 2-year-old named Mary, and and he
Right.
loves going
These are the
yachting. He
things that
does
we
this.
were taught when we were growing up in the business, right? Like put in
Yeah.
birthdays, put in wife's name, put in spouse's name, put in dog's name, make those phone calls periodically, call in and check, right? Like those are all like the foundational things that I don't want to say we've lost as an industry by any means, but like we just kind of have. It's garbage in, garbage out, and that's like literally the definition of a CRM, right? It's only as good as what you give it. And
Yeah.
so there's really nothing else going out there chasing that unless you're doing it. So yeah, big time. I totally see your point there.
Yeah, and then let's just say you have Joe salesman that sells this vehicle to this person, and he leaves incredible notes. And then
Yeah.
Joe leaves because he's retired now, or he goes over to another Porsche store. And then
Mhm.
David comes in, he inherits that customer database, and he's not looking at those notes. He's just
Right,
dialing.
right,
Just
right.
dialing based on your make model, whatever he thinks is positive, positive equity positions or trade cycle or whatever strategy he's doing that day, least pull aheads. And but AI is going to look at that data. Like
Right.
AI can be programmed to say, hey, look at all the data in here. And then now that you're integrated in my CRM, go ahead and just formulate a personalized message. And that
Yeah,
first touch point could be so much better than what a human's going to do. And then
I
let
agree.
the human swoop in once
Yeah.
the person responds.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I agree. I mean, again, it's it's limitless, like we forgive me if in the beginning of this phone call it came across like we don't want to use AI. We would love to use AI. We would love to use it to
Just
help our business,
strategically. That's how I took
right?
it.
Yeah, as strategically as we
Mhm,
possibly can for our clientele. Um, but it's
mhm,
it's so important to get it right, and I think for us, it's so important to get it right because in the car business, you either have like 3 seconds to gain a customer, or you have 3 seconds to lose one, right? And so if we come
mhm,
across disingenuine in the very beginning through that process, like we're coming across robotic or whatnot, then that's where most of our fears come from. But if we have something
mhm.
that's a little bit more relational that can digest data far far faster than any human can, and more efficient, then like those are just invaluable items for us to basically take the store from a jog to a sprint when it comes to efficiency and sales.
Yeah, and I think that question that you have in the back of your head is so valuable in so many ways in life. Is I think there needs to be a qualifying question that allows you to make a decision without having emotion play a role in it.
Hmm.
So, for example, the company where we started in automotive is T3 Marketing. That's our marketing agency. Now we've shifted all of our efforts over to CarDealer.ai. But with
Yeah.
T3 Marketing, our question that I would prompt to sales all the time is, does this help a car dealership sell more cars? Because
Yeah.
what would happen is sales would come in. They're like, hey, my buddy, I spoke to my buddy at a bar and he has this HVAC company and he wants to do paid search. I know we do paid search, or we have this insurance company and they want to do direct mail and we do a lot of direct mail. Can we do that for him? And then I would
Yeah.
say, hey, does that help a car dealership sell more cars?
Yeah.
No, it
No.
doesn't. Okay,
Right.
then we're losing focus. And we
Right.
also didn't really do too much in service either. And
Right.
so I would just say like service is just not our bread and butter right now. We of course we can do it, but
Yeah.
it makes us lose focus.
Yeah.
And so those types of questions that you have when assessing AI are really critical to the personality of your dealership. And I think it's amazing that you're a little bit more hesitant, but not hesitant because you're a laggard, but hesitant because
Right.
your question is, does this improve the car buying experience? Not does it improve my bottom line?
Yeah. I mean, again, like to just I don't want to continue to echo it, but we're just a smaller store in a
Mhm,
area of California that is very generational. And so I'm a fourth generation here. My son's going to be a fifth. We've been here for a long time. It's one of those things, and I'm sure you've talked to people around the world or around the nation, that have these kind of small town vibes, but we
mhm.
still operate a little bit on a handshake standard, right? If I tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to do something," that's kind of a handshake. We're going to get it done, right? And
Yeah.
so when we implement AI into that process and we try to, let's say divert that customer to a different route for efficiency purposes, then we tend to lose that because at the end of the day, like what we do is far more relational than it is transactional. But
Mhm.
to that point, right, we want to be more efficient. So like how do we become more efficient on the dealer side that's going to benefit the customer versus throwing the customer down that avenue of, hey, we have this new XYZ, go ahead and use this, right? Like the best example that I could give you is like the amount of leads that we get as a Porsche store, and I'm sure lots of other Porsche stores would agree that
Mhm.
customers go on like Porsche Cars North America, like Porsche USA, and build a car and like submit a lead is like gigantic. Like we get so many of those
Wow.
leads, right? And that's like customers engaging with the brand. They're all different. Nobody submits a build on a white on black Macan, right? They're all crazy. They're all paint to sample. They're all like 50, $60,000 in options. Um, and I would say probably like 20% of those customers are actually real, but those are the customers that want a person to call them and say, what's the difference between this and this? And why is this 11 grand and this isn't 11 grand? And that's where, as a Porsche store, we end up touching a customer 8 to 9 times before they even transact because there's just so many questions and so many things to kind of work through. And as a brand for the experience for the customer, there's like so many things you can do. We're in California, so we have the PECLA, which is the Experience Center down in Carson. Right. So
Mhm.
customers can opt to go down to the Experience Center, take delivery of their cars down there. That's a whole experience. There's no AI in that building. That is come
Yeah.
check in, give me your driver's license, welcome, drive on our track, eat at our 917 cafe, take delivery of your car, take 1,000 pictures, post it on Instagram, and let the world know how successful you are. Right.
Mhm.
There's no AI there, right? And so
Yeah.
as Porsche wants to emulate that experience through each of its centers, that's typically where we end up going is, hey, listen, this is totally human to human connection. We're going to tell you why we think, oak green is a cooler green than shade green, or this wheel is better than this wheel. And we're going to build this thing together and we're going to deliver it to you. For the Honda Accord customer, where I have a pre-owned Honda Accord on my front line, yeah, let's figure out how to make this more efficient for you because this is a need, not a want. A Porsche is a want. Nobody needs a 911,
Yeah.
right? Nobody needs a Cayenne Turbo GT, right? That is again, as I mentioned earlier, a football moment. And so we want to be there right alongside these people to spike it with them.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's incredible. I love the Experience Center. I experienced it one time in
Yeah.
Atlanta when I
Yeah.
lived there
So
for
good.
a minute.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I'm not a Porsche fan. It's just not something that like attracts me. But then I went to that Experience Center and I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. Now I could see myself in a Porsche one
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
as like a toy. And
Yeah.
I was shocked about what I was allowed to do at that
Yep.
center. I was like,
Big time.
"Oh, I can't believe it. They want me to like go to the end of the road and slam on the
Yes.
brakes. And then
Yes.
they want me to do donuts. I learned how to do donuts there. That was actually really cool. Or like not just donuts, but like drifting essentially.
Right.
And that was amazing. And it's funny because now my 3-year-old watches Cars and I grew up
Yep.
watching Cars. And
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that scene where they're like, turn the tires this way. And honestly,
Yes.
I just
Yes.
never understood it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't get what it is. And then I was like, I learned how to do that at
That's
Porsche
right.
Experience.
That's right.
Like,
That's
yeah, you
right.
have to lose control and then try to correct. And then that's where you do that. But it's like, that
Yeah.
was a once in a lifetime, not necessarily once in a lifetime, but for me, that was a lifetime memory experience that I just had with this brand. I'm
It,
shocked that more brands haven't adopted this style thing,
I mean, listen,
because it is so unique.
it's so unique. And, we talk about this all the time in the store. The Porsche brand is motorsport, right? It's a full motorsport brand, but it's really
Mhm,
passion oriented. Nobody does, what Porsche has been able to do. Let's just put it that way. The
mhm,
audience that they carry, passion for the brand that they carry, everything that they've done, right? Not to take away from our conversation about AI, but I think it bleeds very, very much
mhm.
into it,
Yeah.
which is, hey, listen, you might not be a Porsche guy, but you go experience the Porsche Experience Center. You get to go toss a 911 or a 718 or a Cayenne around and get to see what it can do. Well, now all of a sudden you're leaving that experience, like, holy crap, okay, this is really cool. There's no AI there, right? This was
Yeah.
how can we evoke emotions out of, any sort of prospective buyer? And that is Porsche. It is all emotion. It is not transaction.
I'm going to give you another brand experience. And again, I know we're getting away from AI, but we're really just emphasizing why these like incredible experiences just shouldn't go away. And I have never been a Maker's Mark fan, but one year, it was like 8 years ago, my wife purchased me a fraction of a barrel.
Okay,
And
cool.
honestly,
Yeah.
now that I saw it, I think it was a little bit of a fake thing, but basically she for free, she just said, "Hey, I'm going to sign you up, and then your name is on a barrel, and then
That's cool.
once that barrel matures, you get to go out to Kentucky and taste from that barrel and buy bottles from that barrel." And so I had that incredible like gold ticket
It's awesome.
like experience, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never interacted with Maker's Mark. I've never really enjoyed like the basic Maker's Marks, but now I look at the premium things that they have, the premium selections
Right.
that they have, now that I had that experience and I was invited out, and there was no other reason for me to go to Kentucky and have that experience, but I did
Yeah.
because they knew they were good at playing the long game.
Yeah.
And during that time, also during that 7 years, I got little gifts from them, all for free. They
Absolutely.
just put me on the
Yep.
mailing list and sent me like little things in the mail over and
Yep.
over again. And I can see
Yep.
that being a Porsche thing. Like you said,
Big
80%
time.
of people who build a vehicle online do not actually purchase that vehicle. But
Right.
they are going to. And then you try to think about, okay, so now going back to AI, how can I actually utilize AI in a tasteful way
Yes.
to engage with these customers? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the full conversation. It doesn't have to be AI picking up the phone, but
Right.
AI could look at that build, for example, and say, wow, you 2 years ago, you built this. Now this new technology just came out that actually
Yeah.
improved that. I would
Yep.
love to just get your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And a human is never going to draft that email, but maybe
Never.
AI could.
Yeah, yeah, very true. I mean, listen, we try to slow down what AI tries to speed up, and that's the experience.
Hmm.
And it's really important on our end to be, I guess, facilitators of that. Um, because there's a lot of anticipation from the moment that you get the call, hey, we got an allocation for you, hey, come build it, to it's being built, to you've got like the track your dream setup where you can see all the steps on your app through Porsche, and then they send you pictures of it through the build, and then it gets on a boat. Now you track the
That's
boat.
cool.
It's a huge anticipation process for a lot of people that
Mhm.
it's funny. I just delivered a GT3 to a customer of mine who's been waiting 3 years for a car. And, it's been
Yeah.
3 years of waiting for an allocation. Then we get it, then we build it, then it gets built, then it comes on a boat, then it gets to the dealership. Then we have to bubble wrap it in paint protection film because God forbid we get a paint chip. Then finally, okay, we can like let the air out, right? It's delivery day. I looked at him and I said, okay, well, now what? Right? It's been 3 years, man. So now what do we do? And it's very let's just say prevalent, right? That if we had implemented AI into that entire process of anticipation for this customer, right, it
Mhm.
might not have been fully appreciated. But here you have it where that experience of AI trying to speed everything up, we're just trying to slow it down, for the customer. AI for us, from an implementation standpoint, 100% internal. External, we'll be in the bushes.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's like, going back to the Maker's Mark, you tour the campus and you see the river where they get their water from. When we also walked into this place, we walked into this small building and I thought it was like a museum, and it literally had red rope around it. So we could only stay like right here, but it looked like a museum because it was printers, two printers that look like they or probably are from like the 1950s or something, crazy old. And we just assumed that those were the old printers, and they're like, no, those are the old printers that got us here. They're also the current day printers that still print every single two printers print every
Yeah.
single label that Maker's Mark goes on every single Maker's Mark bottle. They also
So cool.
hand dip the bottles and you get to
Yep.
see that, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, machines just can't replicate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's listen, I mean, like I said, for us, we will run as fast as we can to improve efficiencies within the dealership, within personnel, to help us. And if AI is going to be that solution, then absolutely, we want to be implementing what we can to help us.
Mhm.
Customer facing, it's just a completely different story, as it's a completely different brand.
Yeah. Well, honestly, on this call, I've been inspired, and I hope a lot of dealerships have been inspired. I love the way that you're not focused on the bottom line. Not that you aren't focused on the bottom line, but
We're
that
very
customer
focused on that. We're
experience.
very focused on that.
Yeah, but that customer experience will create. So if you create this experience, then the bottom line will follow.
100%.
And I love the filter of when to use AI, when not to use AI. I don't think a lot of the dealerships that are implementing AI, they don't have that mindset. which which is also okay because it is a money-making mindset, and I think that people are making a lot more money on AI, but it's not for every brand and every style. So if you are one of those people who says, "I don't want AI interacting with my client base," take this mindset. One, how can we optimize internally and not as much externally? And if we are external, is it improving the customer experience? Yes, then let's try to do it. No, nope, it's not for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, internally, we're going to look at every solution we can because it's our obligation in the automotive space. With
Mhm.
this brand, with our market and who we are and the experience that, we're obligated to deliver as brand ambassadors, it's really important that we deliver on that. And not to make it all about the bottom line and gross profit. Typically where the money flows is with as happy as a customer as you have. And I'll leave it at that. So if our customers are happy and they're getting what they want, then typically, the rest follows.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Spencer. This was
Yeah, thanks,
a
John.
really amazing conversation. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
love the approach that you take from it. I learned a lot today from you. So thank you very much for that. If you
Yeah.
guys felt inspired, you listening felt inspired or like conversations like this, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so that way you get alerted when these episodes get launched. Also, we started a Facebook group called AI and Automotive where incredible AI focused conversations are happening specifically for what's working now with car dealerships. People asking about certain vendors and what do you think about this new tool that I'm trying to build, and a lot of really good brainstorming happening inside of that group. We'll see you next episode. Thanks so much.